morning, and I've had some requests on this about the importance of working with your people, et cetera, is that, there are some core basics, and I call them multi-level standards. I mean, there are certain things that just don't die because you've maybe been in the industry for 40 years like I have. These core basics are always going to be the same, no matter the technology. And I know at convention we will be having one of the breakout groups. We'll be teaching on how to maximize the social media, which is a big part of the up-and-coming trends of building the business. But you have to remember those core basics, those standards have always been there in network marketing. And it starts with that writing your why and writing your goals, and then writing that prospect list and keep that as an ongoing project, and utilizing that three-way call. In fact, I was talking to Cute Betty, who's on the call this morning, and she was saying she just sponsored someone in with a package, and she's so excited. She goes, now I don't have to do the three-way call. I says, no, you have to do the three-way call. That's part of the system. You don't want to break the system down. You break it down, and guess what? Then it breaks down all the way down line, and people are in that floundering place wondering how to build this business. So that three-way call is part of the standard core basics, and the face-to-face appointments. Amway's big on that. Show the plan, show the plan, show the plan. Meet face-to-face. A lot of people are specialized in meeting face-to-face. And those home meetings and the hotel opportunity validation. So we're going to be talking about all of those basics and how they fit into driving the business. I'm going to have Diane, if you could push star 6 so that you mute yourself, that will be great. Okay, so let's talk about this real quickly here with those core basics. Understand that the goal of this business is to create urgency and momentum. We are not in momentum yet. We will be in momentum when your company starts to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million a month in sales. Then you get into momentum. Momentum is an exciting time to be in, and a lot of companies never reach that point of momentum. But momentum is where you cannot have enough meetings, you cannot talk to people fast enough, people just come out of the woodwork. I remember the Cambridge Diet days in the 80s when in the beginning when I was telling my neighbors and some friends, and I got into actually the opportunity a year after it all started because I had been in skincare, but I heard about these people all in Salt Lake City making all this money, that was the money behind actually Nu Skin, but we're all making this kind of money. And when I was first starting out, it seems like no one was listening. Then about 9 months later, 10 months later, momentum started hitting the Cambridge Diet, and my gosh, people, even my cousin hollered at me at a meeting in Washington State there in Everett, Washington. I did a meeting with over 400 people. That group just exploded for me up there, and she was there, and she said, you should have called me first. Well, I did, but she wasn't listening in the beginning, but now, that was the momentum stage. So that's the goal with every company, is to get to momentum. And in order to get there has to be urgency that is created by the company, by you as an individual, by your team, by your area. All those factors add into creating that momentum. It's about taking full advantage right now of things that we're putting into place. Ken has been very good about putting things into place at the company level to try to get you started on momentum. You have free enrollment all the rest of August. Okay, that is urgency. You got to get involved now. It's going to cost you nothing to get involved. As far as enrollment, that saves you $25. You have extra fast start money. That's an incentive at the company level to create momentum. And so what you have to understand is this subject called Blitz it, Drive it, and Anchor it. The first factor there is blitzing. And what a book I read years ago, it was a man that was at the top of a company called A.L. Williams, which has been around forever. And of all the books I've read in network marketing, and it was a smaller kind of notebook-sized book, it was my favorite one that I read. And it's because he talked about the madman cycle. And he said every few months, 3 times a year, you need to go into a blitz mode, or what he called a madman cycle. And that's where you go and sponsor 20 people, just like a crazy person, and just blitz it. And he says, because you have to feed your business with new blood. If you don't, then the old blood starts getting stale, and the new blood, it brings in that new energy and that new excitement. So right now, because of the internal things happening at the company with these promotions, you can utilize that to blitz it and utilize that to make sure that you start bringing in all of these new people. And understand that you as a team, if you have a team there in Georgia, you have a team there in Illinois, you have a team there in South Carolina, you have a team in Florida, you have a team in Texas, wherever your team is, you need to hold and initiate those madman cycle type of blitz things too by having competitions within your group. I know Team Gideon is extremely good, because I go into their room all the time and read things, about having competitions within their own group. There, again, you're looking at the blitz from the company level giving you incentive, from the area level, your team level, and the personal level. And so right now, in fact, when we first started, it was interesting. I ran blitz calls, which were every single night, just to make that happen. Once we start hitting momentum, we will start those nightly calls again, because there again, it's always about, when you're blitzing, where are you going to send your people next? That's driving. Okay, so you've got a blitz, but you've got to have a plan. Where are you putting them? What's the next step for those people? You can't go out and just sponsor 20 people and hope someone does something. You've got to now move into the next category, which is drive them. You drive them to the next step. Okay, so when you're looking at those next steps, all right, and you're looking at driving the business, let's look at the systems that are in place for you right now, and they have been in place since day one. You've got the multi-level MLM 101 mentoring. I love the mentoring call. The reason I love it's a presentation done with a webinar is it because it breaks this business down like a college class and takes you through the basics so that you understand network marketing from A to Z. There's not a question. There's not a question on how you do things. It's covered within the realm of MLM Mentoring 101. If you have not been through that, you need to go through that course so that you're not out there guessing or reinventing the wheel, that you understand that mentoring course is put together from 40 years of experience and success of making money in this industry. Okay, so that's on Monday. Tuesday, you have a testimonial call that you can drive people to get a validation about how the product is working in the field. A team is featured every single Tuesday night. This coming Tuesday night, we may feature Dr. LeBron again, and I will not open the call. We had triple the amount of people that we had anticipated, and when I opened the call, it threw the call into kind of a funny buzzy sound, and so I could not get a good recording from it, so we may do that. So just watch for updates. So you've got your testimonial call Tuesday, that as soon as you bring people into the process or the pipeline of the prospecting process, you immediately can throw them into Tuesday night, okay, to listen for validation, and you just don't send them there. You drive them there, meaning, what does drive mean? You pick them up. Okay, what does drive mean on a webinar? You have people over to your home. That's the Wednesday webinar, and gather around your computer and watch it, and then share your story, and then enroll it and speakerphone your sponsor in. There's this activity of driving people into the system. Then you look at the Super Saturdays, as well as your Facebook groups of E3 Success Stories, your VH Team updates, your Burgess Biz to listen to those basic trainings. You drive them there. And the Burgess Biz 101 blogspot.com has constant concepts driven home so that you can drive them there. They can go through those blogs and read any subject from selling the dream to blitzing. All of that is written there at the blog spot. So you're looking at driving people to the systems. And then what I want you to understand, too, is that besides the systems, you have got to recognize the fact that you've got to anchor these people. So you've blitzed it. You are driving them to the systems, okay? Then you're going to invite everyone to all of the activities, but you're going to only work with those who work. And so this is where I want you to understand the anchoring. You put all of your people that you're sponsoring. Say you go right now and till the end of the month or till convention, maybe your goal, you've written it down, is to sponsor 20 brand new people, okay? And understand, do not sponsor them without a package. Don't just slide them in and think you've got a home run there. That is nothing. If they've not made a commitment to come in, then you have an empty leg. Okay, that's what I call a lame leg. It's just someone that's in, and they may have a couple of bottles. They're not in the business. Okay. Example: I had someone this last month that wanted to just come in with the free enrollment, and they might order a little bit, but they wanted to make money. And I started asking lots of questions. Well, what's your goal with the business, et cetera, which you do. You qualify people. And they really wanted to make it this time in network marketing. They'd been in before. They'd been in another company with me years ago. And I said, okay, then you've got to make a commitment and come in with that Pro Pack, because the Pro Pack gives you the most value for the dollar. You've got to make that commitment. It gives you enough product to do the business. It gives you enough product to sample with, to sell, to get people on the product, because it is a process. You've got to get people on the product, and then through having a good experience, and then you go from there. And they were hesitant. And I said, well, then don't sponsor. Don't sponsor in until you can make that commitment, because you're not going to make any money until you fully engage and decide that this is what you want to do. Well, hum-hot around, and I said, well, listen, get back to me, when you decide. Well, it was a couple of days later. It was at night, and I got a text, and they said, I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm getting this $900 Pro Pack. And I said, great. That was the first step there of commitment that I knew that person was serious about building the business. Okay, so when you're looking at this and you're looking at how to maximize these promotions and blitz it and drive it, okay, you have to make sure that when you sponsor them, they come in with a pack and maximize the pack. And this gets me to a place where don't make yourself the issue. Don't say you came in with $225 or whatever that small package is, which I call a consumer pack. If you came in with that, don't reflect that on your people. Okay? Because if you do, what happens is everybody you bring in will come in with that pack. So even if you came with that pack, then I would position it like this. I would say, you know what, Diane, I came in with this one because I was a little bit short on funds, but I wish I had come in with a 900 Pro Pack because I could have moved all of that product. I said, you have to have a paradigm shift and understand if people are serious and they want to make a business of this, think about franchising and everything else, how much money people have to put in. That's huge compared to that particular coming in at that pack. So just be a little bit more, I'm trying to think of the right word, just don't be willing to just slide people in for no volume. And I think that's one of the things in the emails I've been getting is how do I bring them in if they sponsor in because they get in free, but then how do I get them with the product? Don't bring them in unless they can make that package commitment, okay, because you're setting them up for failure, and you want to set them up to win. And so what I would say right from the beginning with them is, look, I want you to succeed probably more than you do. I want you to have the lifestyle that you want. I want you to be able to be walking across that stage at convention and getting that award for an executive leader. In order to do that, you need to make a commitment right now to me, and I will match you. Whatever you put into it, I will put it into it with you. So that's a concept called matching, okay, and they will make that commitment. So you invite everyone to all those systems, but to anchor, okay, this is where you take all those people that you've sponsored during this little window of blitzing, and you've got these 20 new people that you've sponsored, or 10, whichever your goal is that you've set for yourself. You're going to put them on speed dial on your telephone, okay, and in the daily walks of life, you can constantly touch base with them, and you're going to put them on intensive care. Intensive care means the first 2 to 3 weeks in the business, you're going to call them every single day, okay? And you're going to check in, and you're going to say, hey, Barbara, who are we talking to today? Put me on the phones with these people. Who have you got on your list? Who have you got that we can talk to? And if someone says, well, you know, and a lot of people talk a big story. Well, I've got this guy, and he is da-da-da-da-da, and he would be so good. Well, then put him on the phone with me, okay? When they don't take action and they don't put you on the calls, then you know that those are the people you're going to be working with. The people you're going to work with, no matter how busy they are, when you call and check in, they will have people for you to talk to. Okay, let me give you an example, and this comes from a million years in this industry. I will call 3 or 4 key people, okay? And when I call them, 3 of the 4 might just be talking about everything from the weather, how hot and humid it's been, to their stretch marks. Doesn't matter what it is. And then the 4th one will say, oh, wait, don't go anywhere. I've got some people I want you to talk to with me. Who am I going to work with? I'm going to work with that person that immediately puts me to work, because that is income-generating activity. The other isn't. So after 3 to 4 to 2, whatever your time frame is, I like to get it about a month, 4 weeks of intensive care with those 20 people that you blitzed and put in the system, okay? You will know who to work with and who to anchor, okay? Now, anchoring means to find someone in each new leg of those 20 people that engages fully, that makes the commitment, that's on the calls, that's on the webinars, and wants to do the business and puts you on 3-way calls, and you're going to work there, okay? I heard from someone years ago, his name was Richard Call. He wrote the book called The Millionaire Next Door, and he's a good friend of mine. And years ago, I ran into him because he was a big earner in the Cambridge diet back in the 80s, and he's just a sharp guy out of Long Island, New York. And I said to him, and he's kind of rough and tough, and I said, okay, Richard, what is your secret? And this was back in the 80s, and he said, it's not who you work with, it's who they leave behind for you to work with. And I thought that was a little rough at the time, but then when I thought of it, and through the years when you've seen this business, it's really true. And so you look at those people you've sponsored, and maybe you've sponsored 10 new first-level people, but maybe under this one here, under A, Alice, okay, is Billy. Okay, and Alice is just doing nothing. I'm going to work with Billy. But maybe there's Alice, and there's Bob that's doing nothing, and then there's Kathy, C. Kathy's starting to cook, and she's on the calls, and I hear her shouting out on the calls on a Saturday morning. I'm going to call Kathy, and I'm going to work there. That's called anchoring the leg. So you look at where you can anchor that leg. Now, for example, A, B, C, D. A, Alice, B, Bob, C, Kathy, D, David. Okay, say David's the one that's working the business. He's got people on the call. He's got volume, because you look at your printout, you can see that that's there. Then you're going to call David and start anchoring anchoring David and doing 3 ways with David. What happens is when David starts getting stuff going on and momentum and all of that, he's fully engaged, then I can call Kathy and say, oh, my gosh, you've got to see what David's doing, blah, 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 blah. Then I can call Barbara or Bob, whoever's B, and I can call Alice. And that's called driving the leg or the downline burn. So I can go downline and I can initiate stuff there that's going to motivate the people up above them, okay? So I want you to understand anchoring that leg and working with your people. Working with those who work, I've got some notes here, is that you invite everyone to all of the systems and all of the events and everything that you're doing, but you need to anchor where it is volume happening. Now, this is where it gets into you cannot build this business behind your computer. I mean, as much as you want to, and I tend to be on the computer a lot just because I do a lot of V3 success stories and editing those and monitoring the groups. But where you build a business is on the road, face-to-face with your people. That's why in the last Burgess Bulletin that I sent out, Burgess Biz Bulletin, I had a picture of Ginger doing a meeting. And the reason is that we cannot get away from the road warrior mentality of network marketing. Billy Banks went from the third, fourth earner in the company to number 2 because of being a road warrior. He was on the road in front of his people. There is magic created when you gather your people. I call huddle up your people. When you bring them together. And this is the importance of doing things locally. For example, it starts with weekly meetings that are in your home or in your smaller locations where you're constantly presenting the opportunity in the face-to-face appointments and the small home meetings. Once a month, areas, if you've got an area growing, and even if you don't, you can start it and initiate it yourself, is put together an area celebration meeting, which is an opportunity meeting, but the first part of it, you recognize all of the people who have done anything, and it's that recognition, because Mary Kay is someone I admire, never have worked with her, but I absolutely loved her book and loved her concepts. She said people are motivated in 2 ways, security and recognition. She goes, recognition is 87% of why people do things. So how can you fully recognize people if you do not get in front of them? Okay, so if you have an area recognition night or a celebration night or whatever you want to call it, where you bring people together and they bring their guests to validate the opportunity, recognize the heck out of the front end of the meeting so that those people have that growth that only comes when they're recognized for the work that they've done. This is why road warriors make this business happen. I was talking to a friend of mine, Dennis Windsor, who he's a road warrior. He was with NSA and some other companies, but he is on the road blasting a company that's already hit $5 million a month, and it's totally because he's a road warrior. And he's out there meeting with people and gathering people together so they feel the synergy of the group. So what I want you to understand from all of this is you can blitz it, okay? And you can start to drive people to the systems, but you got to anchor it. And so if you're looking at that group, A, B, C, D, and D, David is just smoking, and he's starting to do stuff, and he's over in Pennsylvania, then I'm going to make it an effort as a leader to go to Pennsylvania and meet with the people and drive the leg. And if I'm going to go to an area, and I'm thinking back all of the meetings that I've done, I will not, and Ken has done too. Ken has been a road warrior. In the very beginning of this company, he was on the road in key areas. Then we're going to go to an area like Valdosta, Georgia, okay? And we're not going to just do a meeting. We're going to do a leaders' lunch so that we get the leaders together and inspire them to do more. And then we're going to do an opportunity meeting that night and maybe an executive luncheon the next day. So we maximize what is happening there. Now, if you're building the backyard first, which is very smart, you can do the same thing. Okay? So what I want you to do and challenge you to do as a team of individuals, get a hold of each other, sizzle, which is huddling together and decide what you're going to do strategy-wise to really maximize this blitz. So not only are you blitzing, but you're driving and you're anchoring. And that's working with your people. So what did you learn from working with your people and anchoring? Is you got to have an intensive care list. Those people you've just sponsored. You put them on intensive care. You call them every single day for 2 to 3 weeks, because then you'll know who is actually going to do the business. Okay? Not just talk about doing the business, but actually put you to work. All right? That's the whole object of this. And that's why we hammer home the systems. We hammer home the 4 steps, sample, sell, sponsor, support. But what is the first step in there? You're going to show the commercial. All right? You're going to have them listen to the hotline. Now you see why I'm so excited with Ken Burgess. Number 1, you're going to run the bases of the baseball diamond, whatever you want to call it. Some people call it the baseball diamond. Other people call it the 4-step system. You're going to drive them to the website. That means you're going to be at the computer at the same time they are, even if it's across the country or the town, so that you're showing them what to look at. You're going to drive them to the call by putting them on a 3-way call. You're going to drive them to the webinar by maybe gathering together and watching the webinar together and then talking afterwards and strategizing. It's that synergy, that's that excitement, it's that team spirit. People want to belong to something positive. That's why they love this industry. That's why this industry thrives, is because it's a place of validation, not only for the opportunity, but for them as an individual. There's personal growth that happens when all of this takes place, and you'll see it. I have seen people not be able to put sentences together in front of people, scared to death, want to keep behind their computer, maybe face-to-face, and all of a sudden they start doing those home meetings, and then all of a sudden they are on a stage and they're speaking because they've grown in this business. You start this business bad, you become better as you do it, and then you become brilliant. But it takes the process and working through that process to get there. So for you right now, make sure that you backtrack. If you have not written your why, write it. If you have not written your goals, rewrite those goals. If you have not written a prospect list, start it today. If you have not called your people and driven them to all of these systems, because I'm shocked, honestly shocked, and I know Billy's listening, he'll laugh at this, because he had the same experiences when he started talking to some of his downline. They didn't know about Burgess Biz. They didn't know about the webinars. They didn't know about the Tuesday calls. Where are people? We try to drive them, and that's your job, is to get them on these calls and systems. And I've had people say, well, I can't get them on the calls. Well, then you have the wrong people, because the people that are going to do this business are fully engaged in blitzing, driving, and anchoring, okay? They're fully engaged in that, and you only need a couple of people to do that. Let me give you an example in closing. In the last company we were with, and our checks were over $260,000 a month. We had 90,000 people in the downlines. That's where I knew Nancy and where I knew Carol, and I knew all these people, Elaine, all these people, is that we had literally 4 key leaders that we were personally working with all of the time. Of the 90,000, of that, we worked with a lot of people, but 4 very key leaders drove that business. And so, yes, you think, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I have to get that many people. No, because a lot of people will be consumers, some will be wholesale buyers, some will be retailers, and then there's a few that are business builders. You get yourself a business builder that's worth $10,000 a month to you, minimum. You get 2 business builders, that's $20,000 a month. Do the math. I look at just how many people do I need to get my check to $100,000 a month. I mean, maybe you don't think like that, but I want you to think a little bit bigger, because we have something that is so easy to talk about, a happy skinny pill. I have a family member who's involved in essential oils, and it's the most complicated thing I've ever seen. And you almost have to go to school to get a degree in essential oils to be able to talk about all those things, which is wonderful. But to me, I like rock and roll. I like real easy. I like simple. I got a happy skinny pill. I mean, people want that yesterday. How simple is that? You need to do this business with me. Oh, my gosh, we are having so much fun. Then you drive them to the systems. You drive them to the systems so they can see how simple it is. I talked to you the other day about letting the tools talk. Let them talk for you. I mean, don't be the issue. Don't be the person that makes the excuses. I haven't lost weight fast enough. Who cares? It's not about you. Tell about the other successes out there, okay? For example, me, I'm slower than molasses to lose, but I still have lost. Now it's at 30 pounds, but it's taken me a year and a half to get there. But that's okay. I'm a process, and that's fine. I haven't made myself the issue. I share the other stories. With that, have fun, guys, and take advantage of what's going on. Countdown to Convention is coming, new products, new marketing system, new websites, all that's the beginning. So thank you for all your efforts. I want to thank Diane Sheffield. I want to thank Billy for being on. Billy, you just continue doing that wonderful job that you're doing there. You and Alpha, and our love and kisses and hugs to you, and for setting up some very key leaders for us here in Voyager. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.